Is this Arcee figure actually any good? And is it better than the Studio Series figure? It is kind of disappointing that they didn't make a deluxe class Arcee figure yet for Rise of the Beast, and this kind of does the job of that.
Mommy? Sorry. Mommy? Sorry. Mommy? Sorry. Mommy?
The box art is honestly fairly simple, not a whole lot to go over, so let's get straight into the figure. Now this honestly doesn't look too bad to me. I do think this is a pretty decent looking bike mode, especially for the type of figure this is.
Mommy?
The arms and hands sticking out at the back do look kind of atrocious, and they don't seem to tap together very well, but the rest of it does look pretty good. Detail wise, there's not a whole lot on this figure.
You have some stuff that vaguely resembles what could be motorcycle detail.
A little bit back over here. The wheels are very glossy and that does look kind of ugly, and then these front ones have some holes in them, and the wheels do not spin very well at all, so that is another particular downside for this figure.
The paint and colors on this are just fine.
Not much else to say about the vehicle mode, but we can compare it to the Studio Series version, and with a size comparison, the Beast Alliance figure is definitely much larger than the Studio Series one. The fronts do look quite similar. You can see completely different paint applications though. The side and the top also look very different. I do think in terms of vehicle mode, the Studio Series one is slightly better. It is also cheaper, coming at around maybe like $10 or $11. This one is around $15, but it does come with Cheetor. But honestly, in my opinion, it's pretty passable. Not the worst looking thing, but also not the best.
I mainly got her for the robot mode.
Now, before we get to transforming this, let's take a look at Cheetor. This isn't too bad looking for what it is. You do have some nice detail over here, and some more stuff on the back of the legs as well as the front. It does look pretty decent. And here's a closer look at his head. Some more nice detail underneath the figure. Now, articulation wise, these are all on ball joints, so they can pop out, so they can move out, and you can give them a rotation. The feet are also on a ball joint, so they can move around. Back legs are also on a ball joint, so you can bring them out about over there. Yeah, before it ends up popping out.
You can bring them forward and back all the way around.
No head movement or anything though. Now the transformation on this figure is fairly simple. First, let's go ahead and disconnect those arms. Then we'll come down here to where these legs are. Bring them out just like so. Same with this one. We're gonna pull that out and just bring it out. We'll come to the wheels and then separate them and bring them out. We can bring the head forward, bring this section back over there. And we will see there's a lot of hollowness going on, which is kind of unfortunate. It is mostly covered when you bring this up. We can bring these arms down and then rotate them like so. Same with this one, and be careful because these do pop out really easily. Now we can bring the legs around and down like so. Come over here and do the exact same thing. And here's Arcee in her robot mode, and it doesn't look too bad. The proportions of the figure seem alright. If we do take a closer look at the head sculpt, it's fairly decent. The helmet section does look alright. The face is very pink with some blue eyes. Not a whole lot of detail throughout this figure. The chest piece is the front of the motorcycle like the other figures,
but very unlike some other Arcee figures.
Arms are a pretty simple sculpt. You do have some silver paint applications here. The body does slim down. You get a little bit of detail and some motorcycle detail along with her standard belly button. Crotch piece fairly basic. Not too much to say about the legs here. I don't like how the feet are done. I feel like they look kind of backwards. It seems a little bit awkward.
Turning the figure over to the back, she does have a pretty big backpack, which does look kind of weird in my opinion, and I'll compare this to the Studio Series version in a second.
Coming to the back of the head, she does have some hollow bits which look really ugly, and as I said earlier, there's more in here which does get covered up, so that's not a big deal. But once again, this backpack is pretty atrocious. Coming down to the legs, from the back, I mean, not a whole lot to say. Doesn't look the best or the worst, but in general, from the front... How did I do that? But honestly, in general, from the front, the figure doesn't look too bad in my opinion, and it's much larger than the Studio Series figure.
Here are the two figures side by side, and here's a figure with some other Rise of the Beast figures.
I know the Studio Series one is supposed to be more accurate in terms of scale with the rest of the figures, but I do prefer having a larger Arcee figure. I'll do a comparison with these two in a sec, but first let's take a look at Cheetor. He does not transform or anything. He's simply just a weapon. First we need to bring this up, like so, and then rotate this around. Bring those legs up and around, same with this one, and then bring these ones up, same on this side. And then now we essentially have what is Cheetor's weapon or sword mode. This attaches into either one of these pegs, so we can plug that in there. Plug that in there.
It is kind of a bulky weapon. It's a gimmicky feature I don't really care for. I just care about the Arcee figure.
This arm does keep falling off.
'Tis but a scratch.
Taking a look at both of these figures' head sculpts, I do think the Studio Series is a lot more nicely defined. The Studio Series figure also has a bit more accurate paint colors with the white, while this one, instead of white, there's a lot of gray on it. The chest pieces do look the same on both of these figures. The arms are a lot slimmer on the Beast Alliance figure. The stomach area on this is also a lot slimmer in my opinion. This section on the side of the the Studio Series one really bulks it out. And then here's a closer look at the legs. Now both of these figures have the issue of having a lot of stuff going on at the back. Over here it's kind of spread out throughout the figure, while over here it's all up in this back section. This figure also has blue paint on the chest piece, while this one does not. The Studio Series figure also has more detail.
I do want to compare this figure to the Legacy Prime RC figure because I need to make the video just a little bit longer.
Definitely a very different look for these figures, but I do feel like there are some minor similarities between the two. I have always thought that this figure could make a good custom Rise of the Beast RC figure if we had a different head sculpt. However, the head for this figure is on a ball joint, while the head for this figure is on a hinge joint. So that is something to... You know what she looks like right now? So someone probably more savvy than me could figure out a way to get this head sculpt to work with this to make a nice little custom. Now for the figure's articulation, the head can spin a full 360. These arms can move out. Since they're on a ball joint, they can spin a full 360.
Hand rotation.
No waist rotation. Legs can move forward out there. They can move back there. You do get a knee bend, and then this can bend as well. And that's about it.
It's not that bad of a figure, and with giving it a custom paint job, you could get a really good looking RC figure. And it's up to you on which figure you like the most. So leave a comment below.